Hello everyone, so this is going to be the second episode of the Q&A on anime series of videos that I'm doing where I ask you guys questions relating to anime. Now, last week's question was, what was the first anime that you watched? And I asked you guys to answer in two different ways. One of them being, what was the first one you watched, period? And the second one being, what was the first one you watched after you learned what anime actually was? Now, this week's question is going to have to do with some of the responses you guys actually gave for last week's questions. Now, I shared the video on an external website other than YouTube, and so some of the responses are going to be on that website, and some of them are just going to be here on YouTube. Now, as for the question of which animes did you watch, or what was the first anime you watched after you learned what anime was, some of the answers were Cowboy Bebop, Yu Yu Hakusho, Dragon Ball Z, Inuyasha, and a couple of other ones as well. And I can definitely say that Dragon Ball Z is definitely going to be a very popular one just because so many people have watched that, and a lot of them don't even know what anime is. And also Naruto. Naruto is another one that one of you guys answered, and that's definitely a show that's going to be answered for a lot of people, but also an answer for, the first animes that some people have watched, period, before they actually knew what anime was. Now, Yu Yu Hakusho and Cowboy Bebop are definitely going to say are my two top favorites just because they're really great animes to start with, and maybe not everyone started with one of those animes, but they're definitely really, really great ones to start with if you're just getting into anime. And as for the first ones you watched before you actually knew what anime was, the most common two that I really, really saw were Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh! So, before I actually get to this week's question, I'm going to tell you guys my answer for last week's question. Now, as for me, the first one that I watched, period, is definitely Naruto. That was definitely the first anime that I really watched and really got into before I even knew what anime really was. And, for me, it was just a regular show that I watched on a regular basis and just really loved watching. And as for the first one that I watched after I learned what anime was actually Ghost in the Shell. Ghost in the Shell is a show that I would love to go back to actually watch. It's actually been quite a while since I've actually seen any of it, and it's a really, really great show. I remember actually getting it on one of those little discs for the PSP actually, and watching it on there. And I remember how hard it was actually to find and stuff like that, and it was just, they didn't actually have very many movies for it, but that was definitely one of the ones I was really happy to see actually available on the PSP, so that was pretty cool. And, I would say, it's Ghost in the Shell is a really good show, and it's interesting that, the first one that I actually watched was Naruto because Ghost in the Shell, two of the voice actors, and at least for English, are also voice actors in Naruto Shippuden in particular, English dub. So if you watch English dubbed, you probably recognize two of the voices from Ghost in the Shell. So I gotta say, that's actually quite interesting, and, the fact that they're both, I guess you could say, kind of, different, animes that I've watched, one of them being the very first one I ever watched, and the other one being the first one that I watched after I actually learned and knew what anime was. Now, this week's question for you guys is going to be, which one do you watch the most, or have you watched the most? Pokemon or Yu-Gi-Oh? So, which one did you find yourself watching when you were much younger? And which one today, if you watch either one of them, do you watch the most? Now, we're not talking about the Nintendo DS games or any video games relating to them. We're strictly talking about the show. So which one do you actually watch more? And which one do you just really find yourself, into the most, really, or a bigger fan of? So I'd really love to see that because they're definitely both in a very vague area, and they're definitely shows that a lot of people are really big fans for, and they're series that have been going on forever, and they have so many seasons that you could just watch and really get into. And, it's going to be very interesting to actually see which one do people watch the most overall? Or maybe a little bit of both. Maybe someone's struck down right in the middle and just absolutely love them both and watch them both probably just as often and still watch them both. I would really love to see your guys in the comment section below. And if any of you guys want to do a video response, that would be really great as well. And also, guys, I want to let you guys know that next week I will be actually putting a banner on the channel page for you guys. And also, I will be creating an outro for the videos, which will be really great, and it's also going to be fun and kind of cool to see, but it's definitely going to take some time, but you guys should be seeing it next week. So thank you guys again for watching, and I will see you guys in the next video.